Hello everyone, and welcome to the office hours for June 2025, NLA latest version. Um, as usual, from the past, if anybody has a question, please feel free to put in the chat or unmute yourself, and you can ask your question. The topic today will be a month-end process from the time the users finishing the prior month and commencing the next period. We'll go through the steps that we have suggested, and this will apply for our current clients on connected versions with SAP as well as disconnected. So let's go through the overview. What we will cover is the process that we suggest is before you start your postings, we suggest the clients are inputting their contracts, lease events. Then we also suggest the journal entry posting internally. Next step would be the closing expired contracts, journal entry posting external. For the clients who are connected, perform reconciliations and the period close. So we'll be using a lot of reports in each step, and I will go through the steps on the PPT today. And before we start with any of the steps that I mentioned previously, it's a priority. I suggest that it should be taken part of your. I suggest that we make sure that the configurations are taken care of, right? So it's for the admins only, and it should be a priority. So why so? So the financial org structure, FOSS in short, it contains all our settings and master data. If there are any changes that are required by the business users, it should be reviewed and adjustments should be made before commencing, as well as keep in mind that we are introducing many features and enhancements, and sometimes it requires as an impact on the FOSS as well. So you have to make sure that you have gone through the different what's new features. So what's new in the user guide with our latest versions. So you can see that on the docs on nakisa.com, our resource center, we have this page, what's new. So you can go through this as well. And if you would like to start using a new feature enhancement, so you want to make sure that's configured correctly as well. So during the enablement period, you can test this and you can see if it works as you expect it to. So this is for the FOSS. So I've just given you a snippet here, which you can obviously go and access on our main resource page. And similarly, we require, so the example here, sorry, give me a second. So that we introduced the accounting standard determination. Under that, we have introduced in our latest version, the external posting dates. So this is just to give you three different examples, which if you want to use a feature, must be configured before you commence. Also to keep in mind, similarly, there are some settings or features that one should review, the admins should review on the settings on the SAP posting board or general ledger recall. So this allows you to transfer the internal documents that are created and then post them to SAP. So the posting boards, that's the purpose for the posting board that we have in our latest gen. And again, I would like you to review the new features that may also have, you may like to review them and make sure that the profiles are set up or you know what the new features are and you can see if there are some certain configurations required or extra work required by the admins. So for example, lessee ERP field mapping is something that you can set up so that when you are eventually posting, if you're connected and you're posting to SAP, you have the expected results in SAP journal entries. Any questions so far on the configurations or the SAP posting bot? Okay, I will keep going. So the first step, as we mentioned, was to initiate and activate new contracts. So the first task when starting a month end in an LA is to create new contracts, if any. So the user want to ensure that all the objects are created and they're active. So from the master agreement all up the way down to the activation group, we want to make sure that we have none of them in defined status. And if it is, investigate. And we want to make sure that you activate your contracts, the new contracts that you may have. As I mentioned, we'll be discussing validation reports at each step. So at this point, once a contract is created and active, a user can actually go and verify the data entry was correct by looking at the DQI report, which is at two levels. It means there are two reports available. One is on the DQI contract, which will have all the fields entered in the contract level. And the other one is the DQI AG reports, which will have additional fields that are all available on the activation group. So I'm going to go and show you a quick snippet. So this is the view of our DQI reports. And as I mentioned, you can sort it by created ad. So it will give you all the new contracts that have been entered. You can also export the table. You can add additional fields if you want, and as well as remove them. And you have additional filters on the left. So if you're going by a company ID, or you're going as well as the person who has created it. So you can sort with that as well. So you can review the data on the DKI contract report, going on the UI itself, or as I said, you can export the file and you can keep a copy of what was entered and review it as well. Sometimes it's easier on the Excel as compared to the UI based on the user expectations. So similarly, we have the DQI activation group report, which you can also use to go in depth and look at the terms that have been entered. So this will also give you an idea if something needs to be modified and changed before you start posting any entries. So similarly, you can also export it and add additional columns or remove columns by using the table fields. And the filters are here similarly that we have for all our reports that are customizable. So again, this is a screenshot of not all the fields, because as you can see, there are multiple fields that are available and multiple columns that you can select or deselect. And you can also move them around to see how you want to view a report. So once you have created your new contracts and activated all the way to the activation group, the next step before you do anything else for the postings is we're going to perform events for all the contracts, LCs, and activation group. So the contract level, you can have non-financial impact modification or events. At LC, you can have certain events where you are adding a term, and then the activation group will have many more options for lease modifications. So second task, as I said, will be to perform lease modification or reassessments, if any. And a user can come to the action center, as I had shown before, and they can see, do they have any drafts? So if they are doing modifications, that will create the drafts, and we want to make sure that those drafts are merged with the active, or they can delete the drafts if not required. So if you can see, I don't have any contract drafts, I don't have any lease component drafts, but I do have many activation drafts. So basically means a user can actually click from the action center on the UI. And once you click on this, it will display on the landing page on the activation group all the different activation groups that are in that status. In draft means it is not the active contract draft, it is actually a lease modification, right? So you can take the required steps to either delete the draft, or if you want to merge it with the active stats, the version. So you can review all the draft status for the objects to make sure that if something needs to be activated or merged, it's done before the postings. And similarly, you can, once the contract has been modified, you can review the changes in the data using the DQI report for the contract as well as the activation reports. So you can review the adjusting entries before you are actually merging the draft with the active version. By when you're even in the draft mode, you can simply click on the action and it will show you the journal entries for asset and the liability. And if I mean, depends on the type of event you're doing. On the activation group, for example, it will give you the entries accordingly, right? So you can review the adjusting entries that will be posted once the draft is merged, and these postings are automatically posted or merged internally when the draft is status is changed to active. And once you have merged your draft status to the active, basically means, as I said, you can review the journal entry since it's posted in the consolidated transaction report as well. So the examples of these entries will be capitalization of the asset adjustment, termination, liability adjustment, and liability termination impairment, just a few to name. Once you perform the modifications, you can also review the activity analysis report, which can be generated, and you can review the modification or reassessment that you have performed. You can run the report by amount, or you can run the report by count. So it will provide you all the details, the financial impact of the activities that have been that have taken place due to the modification, right? So that's another way of verifying all the modifications that were input and exactly that was the expected um, result by the user. So if it's missing something, user can do another event and run the lease modification as well. Or if any modification needs to be done, it can be performed before any postings are done. Any question on step one in terms of creating a contract or doing a lease modification? If not, we'll go to the step two is posting transactions. So now we have make sure your configurations are correct. We have created new contracts and activated them all the way through the activation group. Next, we have make sure that all the events have been entered in the solution and they are reflecting the correct versions. So now we're going to go through the posting transaction. So we have three postings that need to be done in the solution for the accruals, depreciation, and rent payments. So until the postings are not done, the status is in post. As you can see here, we have three different journal entries to be posted, and the status is open. Two ways to post your internal transactions. One is manually, and the other one is using a batch management operational postings. So manually, when posting can be done is when you go on the UI, on the scheduled, and you are able to click on the icon post uh, in order to post the entry. So we have also when they're posting the reversed and they need to be reposted after any adjustments or modifications are done. So you will see either reverse status or open status in the internal status columns. And you can see that you can post it simply either by clicking on the icon here, or the option two we have is a batch management option, which is that postings can be made in mass based on the profile selected by the user to post the entries for the multiple active groups that have been included. So basically, when the user goes in the batch management, they'll be able to post. I'm going to show you on the UI quickly. So basically, if you go in your batch management into operational postings under jobs, this is where you can actually post all your, as you can see, you can post for a defined period. You can post all the entries at the same time. It can be filtered for particular object IDs, or you can do it based on the profile that you have selected. So going back, the results can be either completed or failed, the task being posted or failed. Under the batch management, now you have the option of reviewing and downloading an Excel file where you can see the reason for each failure for the activation group that is shown on the report itself. So you'll see the activation group, the status if it's failed, it gives you the unit number as well, and the messages basically where you'll see the reason why it was failed. So this feature was introduced in our latest release. So once you have made your internal posting using our um, batch operation or doing them individually on the UI, then you can also run and they're being successfully completed for all the activation groups. Then you can actually come and validate internal postings also a step further, just to make sure that everything is posted. You can use a periodic posting status report. For that period, you can generate it and it will display the transactions, the payment accruals and depreciation, and it will state all the status, right? It will show you if it's posted or failed, or you'll see it's actually might be blank at some point. So the solution gives you the options that are stated here. But when you actually report, look at the Excel file, I'll show it to you what are the other options you see. So here, this report only gives you the amounts in the contract currency. So when you download the Excel file and you are able to filter it, you will see the options open, posted, or blank. So open star means it has not been posted. So user must go back and repost for the current period, because we are just talking about the current period. It can happen that somebody created a new contract after the postings were made. So it also depends if the clients have what are their processes, because every client is a bit different. Some clients have a smaller group and some clients have a bigger group. So it depends who is posting all the entries. So sometimes they have a COE and they manage the postings, or sometimes the business users are posting themselves. It could happen a contract was created after the batch posting was done. So it may have an open status or transaction not posted yet. Next is posted status, which basically means transaction was posted. They may also be a blank status, which is what? So that means there's no transaction required to be posted. If you see a blank on the column under the one of the three postings, it should not be a concern, but you can always go and check your all column schedule. So like for example, if there's a no depreciation posting, you will see a blank on that column for that activation group. Why so? Could be because the asset is fully impaired. Similarly, no pool entry posting is required if it's the last period, or no payment posting is available for that month because the contract could be on a quarterly basis or annual basis, the payments, right? So for that particular month, it might not require a posting for payment. So you'll see a blank. Next is the fail status. So as I mentioned before, you can actually look at the operational postings in the tax action section, where you will be able to download the reports. So if I just go back, so failed internal transaction report. So this is where the user can review on screen at this clicking on this icon here, or you can download it by the clicking on the download arrow right here, where you can see the reason why it was failed. You can make the corrections and then you can repost it manually, or if it's multiple, then you can batch post it again. Any questions on how to post the internal transactions in Nakisa as of now? Please feel free to put in the chat if you don't want to unmute yourself. Okay. I'll go on step 3. Closed expired contracts. It has been seen that some clients don't close the contracts when they expire in the very same period or the next period. I highly suggest that we use our different reports to identify those contracts, and we try to close them in the period that they're actually expiring. We are going to come out with a feature where we will be able to post them in the using a mass workflow with an open period date. So I'll explain to you further. So once all the transactions have been posted under all the valid accounting standards for an activation group, you can trigger the lease end process and close all the expired contracts, right? So you can look at our contract expiration report, our DQI report, and even our disclosure reports to identify which contracts are expired, right? So it may fall in the current or a previous period. So that's how you can identify your contracts. And to close the contracts, again, there are 2 ways. One is manual by going on the UI, and once all the postings are done, you will see a lease end status, and you will be able to click on the close icon. If all the postings are now done, you'll now be able to transfer to lease end and then the close status. And the other option is to actually use our patch management, and the functionality we have is mass workflow transition. So contracts can be based in mass, based again on the profile selected by the user to change the status from active to lease end. So we have the system will identify all the contracts that can be transferred from active to lease end and further to close. So similarly, it picks up the same logic instead of doing it individually one by one. Clicking on the UI, you'll be able to do it in mass. So it saves time. And as I suggest right now, the system is only pulling the dates for the actual ROU end date. So I suggest that we try and close the contracts if possible. If you have the information from the departments that, okay, we can close this contract, then I suggest we close these contracts as and when they expire. Any questions on this as of now for closing expired contracts?
I have one question for closing expired contracts.
Yes, please, go ahead.
So while doing the batch management for the closing contracts, is the Nakisa take the posting date is the current month date or the contract expiry date?
Currently,
Means
it's taking the current the contract expiration date, and that's why I'm mentioning we have a new feature coming up, whereby
oh,
you will be able to select the open period date.
okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question, Srinasan. The next step is posting transaction externally. So this is when you have disconnected clients. I'll go to that first, and then the connected clients. So the suggested method is to use the consolidated transaction report, which means that the external postings to an ERP will be performed manually by adapting the CTR to match the format required by your ERP system, right? So you may have different ERP systems and you want to post your entries, having all the required columns um, by your ERP system, right? So you can change the CTR report, you can modify it, and you can coming in the coming releases. You can also use our dashboards eventually to customize and add on and remove some columns if you want. Some clients are actually using this. I know it is that they're using the all column schedules to again adapt it to what they are required for posting in their current ERP system. So the consolidated transaction report can be accessed from a reporting module on our Nakisa Financial Suite. Next, I'm hopping on. Give me a second. I think there's a question in the chat. So the question is from Sophia. If as admin, I close all contracts at contract end, but the user received info too late, the contract was extended. How should we handle this? So as long as you have the extension, if there's an extension required within the next month, you will be able to create a lease, like create a term in the lease component and extend it using an extension term that can be possible. It's doable. Did I answer your question, Sophia?
Hello. Not exactly. I mean that if we press the lease end and we are closing the lease, so they have already posted also the recognition. But then they receive information late that actually the contract was prolonged for 2 more months. So this means that they should reverse the derecognition
The
that
lease
they
end.
have.
Okay. So
How
basically,
we do
not
this?
close the contract, but you have it at the lease end status. Is that correct?
But let's say that I closed it as an admin. I ran everything to be closed. What we can do afterwards?
Okay,
Can
so
we
you're not.
reopen it?
So you have not even not just you're not at the lease end status. You're actually at the close status. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I'll have to get back to you on the close status. I know that I think our product team is working on reversing from the lease end status in the upcoming releases. I can get back to you on that. But for the closed, I'm not 100% sure. So either way, I'll have to get back to you on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for asking the question, Sophia. Okay, so I'm gonna jump
Yes.
on next. I'm going to jump on to the next one, which is for connected clients. So we can see the different status. Once we run our SAP hosting bot, which basically is posting all the entries that have been already posted internally. So we can see that we have the internal status as posted in the 3 examples. And then the first example is showing me that, okay, I have an open status. This entry will be posted. The second period will not be posted, so it's not applicable. Uh, this on the second example I'm showing is that a failed posting. So after the posting SAP posting bot has been run, we see that there is a failed transaction. It did not post. I'll go back to how to figure out what the reason may be and how we can fix it. The next one I want to show is a perfect example, which is posted internally as well as externally, and there is no error. So let's go next one. How do we get about posting the SAP posting bot to external transactions to our SAP, right? So the manual job, when I say manual, it's not like you're not doing a similar way, going on the UI and clicking. In a way, yes, and in a way, no. It's not the same. The microservice, it's on actually in Nakisa General Ledger. So when we come on a SAP posting bot menu, we have an icon called posting job under which we have jobs. So that's what I call it manually. So for example, we saw an example of when there's a transaction which is still open, a user might have created a contract after a batch has been run internally and externally, but now that open transaction was posted, right? First and internally, now needs to be posted externally as well. So at that point, if for externally as well, if a client is using a scheduled job, then in that case, that posting will be just sitting, right? So if you want to run the posting job right away, right now manually, you can simply click on the job icon and the system can run to post all the open transactions for ready to be posted externally. Then the second option is you can have scheduled jobs. Some of our clients I've seen that they have scheduled jobs to run automatically, either hourly, daily, weekly, whatever works for your business process, right? So you have the 2 options to run it live or to schedule your jobs. I highly suggest if you're running the job manually, at least you come on your Nakisa General Ledger. Again, this is for only the people who have access to the General Ledger, that you come on your ERP system and you simply click on this icon right here, test connection. So if this is green, you're good, you can post it. Sometimes it does happen that the connection is not there and you post an entry and automatically it gets failed. So So the periodic posting status report, which I had mentioned earlier, I can share the Excel file and show you the different statuses as well. But basically, it can also be used for in external transactions. So there are always two columns for each journal entry, one for internal and the other one for external. So you can use this report to compare for both of them, the internal statuses as well as external statuses. So the failed external transaction report can also be downloaded on our general ledger, right? So let me show you quickly. So if I just go on Nakisa general ledger and I have our SAP posting bot and the posting job, oops, sorry, wrong one. You'll be able to see that once the posting is done, you'll be able to see the clicking on this, you could be able to see all the errors, why there was the external transaction was not posted, as well as you have the option to download the report. So you can simply download the report and take the required action to fix the error. So jumping back to my slide. So basically, user can see the failure report, which gives you all the details, as well you have the option to download it in Excel. And then I've already covered under my 2025 R2 release different statuses. The color coding that have to be brought in to visualize and help understand the results, right? So we can see that there were errors. That's why it's red in status saying done. So I'm giving you an example of what I just showed you on the UI, that how you can identify what activation group and unit and what document number is incorrect. You can actually go on the activation group if required and see can be modified there, or basically follow the reason and see what the next steps have to be taken to post the entries externally with no errors. Any questions on external transactions to be posted for connected and disconnected clients both? Anything that you have experienced in your current version that you'd like to share? No problem. I'll go on the next step. Reconciliation. So there are multiple ways to do reconciliation. I know one of the ways I'm showing you here is once all the validation has been completed, all the postings have been done. You can extract the consolidated transaction report for that current month, and you can compare the GL moments in your ERP or your SAP entries. So that's one way you can compare the transactions. You can also export our asset for report and lease liability report and compare the end balances with your ERP balances. For discrepancies, you can perform a detailed investigation, and you can again run the activity analysis report by amount or by count and see, actually more by amount, and see the different identified modifications if they were done. You can see there, or even new contracts, you'll be seeing there as well. You can compare it. And I'm going to jump for 1 second at the period balance imbalances report. So I have also covered a bit this in my enablement for our previous release. Basically, you will have the month-end balances per GL account on our SAP posting or the general ledger, which will match what you have in your ERP. It should match, right? That's the whole purpose of reconciling and figuring out if it's not the same or not. So let me show you quickly again. Here on our general ledger or SAP posting bot, you don't like the period end balances, you will be able to come here. And basically, for each system, for each company, you'll be able to have your balances for each period. So an example I'm showing you, this is my dev build. So that's why you see an X everywhere. So in a perfect world where you have reconciled every month, you will be seeing a check mark, a green check mark with the year, and the fiscal period will also be check mark. So currently this went to a revamp. So right now we have all these months to be reconciled. But I will share, there is another video we can also share it on the YouTube for our period imbalances and how you will see basically all the entries, all the GL balance accounts with the amounts per period for the selected period, right? So that will help you in reconciling your balances from Nakisa to your SAP. So I'm going back. So that's our period and balance report. I will share an example in a moment. Another feature we have is duplicate posting check, and this is for our connected clients. And this is available on our general ledger. So when you sign on to our Nakisa SAP posting or general ledger, you have the option of scheduling the duplicate consistency as well as duplicate checks as well as the consistency check automatically, right? Or you can run it by running it manually, right? So it's right here. So either you can have run jobs manually again, live, or have scheduled jobs the way I showed you on the PowerPoint. So you can schedule them. So basically, what is this feature? So when you are connected with SAP, this check is basically running in the SAP posting bot. It will detect and reverse any duplicate posting that were posted to SAP by the Nakisa SAP posting bot. Now the question is why it happens. So duplicate posting, it may occur if a transaction was successfully posted to SAP. However, the SAP document number was not successfully sent back to Nakisa. So this is how we get the externally posted transaction reference number. So once it gets posted in SAP, in Nakisa, we get back a confirmation. So if it's not successful due to a connection issue or something, the system will try to post it again. So in this case, the posting bot will register the transaction as failed, failed in Nakisa, but you do not receive the posted reference number from SAP, and it'll retry to post the posting in the next post run, right? So that will result in the duplicate posting. So using this feature, automatically the system will reverse the duplicate posting in SAP. So that's one that you should be running and you can check, as well as you have the consistency check in SAP. Posting bot, which will find any externally posted transaction that do not have a valid posting document number in SAP. So the first case was in SAP, there was one and it was not sent back. In this case, there is not one and resets them to the correct posting status. So again, just mention that how it works is SAP, the SAP posting bot sends the transaction to SAP. SAP document number is generated and sent back to Nakisa, and this Nakisa SAP posting bot then records the successful posting, right, and updates the status in Nakisa General Ledger. So what happens sometimes in this case is that all the document number was generated in SAP, it was not saved, or what happens later then, it gets invalidated in SAP and the posting gets rolled back in SAP. What happens then is that it will result an inconsistency issue with Nakisa, right? As it shows it was successfully posted. So running this consistency check, what happens is it will change the status, will reset to failed posted externally. So these two checks are highly suggested to ensure that we are balancing, right? So before we run our reconciliation, we can run these reports to make sure our balances are matching from Nakisa to your ERP, SAP. Any questions on this? Has anybody seen and used these two checks, the duplicate posting check and the consistency check? Okay. Next, I would like to share is close period in NLA. So this can be used, and I highly suggest to use it for our connected clients as well as our disconnected clients. Currently, you are able to post entries in Nakisa internally, even though they're in the past periods, right? So once you are configuring this feature, it will post the entries based on the configurations done. So what does this do? So basically in the ERP master data, in the configurations, again, this is for our administrators, the posting period control, which will define the posting periods which are open or closed for financial postings and are attached to a posting period. That's fine. And it can be specified for GL accounts or all of them. The example I'm showing you that was tested is for all GL accounts. And if the posting is done outside the posting period, the internal and external postings will fail. So in this example, as you can see, I would have, again, this can be synced with your SAP or it can be done for disconnected clients as well. You can do it manually. So unfortunately, when you're doing it manually, the admin has to go every month. So that's why this is the last step. Once you've done all your postings and you're ready to start the next month, you will come here if it's disconnected and change the fiscal period start date. So in my case, I'm showing you nothing will be posted for the periods before June 2025. So this way, we are ensuring that your ERP system postings, which are always in your current open period, will match what you have in Nakisa. Any questions on this? This was also, I think, released in our last in 2025 R1 release. Anybody has started using this, has want to share their experiences? You can put in the chat if you want, or unmute yourself. Okay, sounds good, no problem. Account determination. So in 2025 R2 release, I have also shared in the past, the last recording I have is that you can actually determine when the internal postings will be posted in ERP for each accounting standard. So in the FOSS, we have under determination, the accounting standard determination, where you had the option of stating the start date of the postings to be sent to your ERP. So this is again for our connected clients. This is not, will have no impact on disconnected clients. So as you can see, it takes precedence over the cut over date that has been set up in your company and system financial setting, which is in the section below in the FOSS on the main page. I can show you. Give me a second. Yeah. So this is where you have your posting dates that can be modified, added, and this has to be for each company code as well. So if you have multiple companies and you want to have change certain things, you can select the date here. And what I had mentioned before was second configuration. So basically your company setting or the system setting is where you can configure your cut over date, right? So if I go down, show you, I have a cut over date right here. So that will accounting determination will take precedence over this. Okay. So that was my presentation for today. Anybody has any questions, I'll give it 5 minutes.